Have you ever tried to learn something new and just felt completely lost, like you're drowning in a sea of jargon and complicated ideas? Well, what if I told you there was a simple, super powerful technique to get a handle on any topic? Today, we're going to unlock it. You know the feeling, right? You're looking at some new concept. Maybe it's a piece of code, or a complex scientific theory, or even a financial report. You can see what goes in, and you can see what comes out, but what happens in the middle is a total mystery. It's just this impenetrable black box. And let me tell you, that feeling is incredibly frustrating. It can even make you feel like, man, maybe I'm just not smart enough to get this. But here's the thing, you're not alone. This is a totally normal part of learning. The problem isn't you, it's the way the idea is being explained. Now, to fix this exact problem, this absolutely brilliant idea was born on Reddit. It's called Explain Like I'm 5, or ELI5 for short. And no, it's not about talking down to people like they're toddlers. It's a whole philosophy, a community-wide quest to find the simplest, most elegant way to understand something. It's basically the key to unlocking all those black boxes. So, how are we going to do this? Here's our game plan. First, we'll dive into the simplification toolkit, the actual techniques. Then, we'll look at the cool science behind why simple explanations work so well for our brains. We'll also talk about the oversimplification trap, which is super important to avoid. And finally, we'll see why being able to explain something is the true test of understanding. All right, let's get practical. This isn't just theory. These are tools you can start using like today to make sense of pretty much anything. This whole toolkit really comes down to 3 core moves. First, you swap out all that confusing jargon for plain, simple language. Second, you take huge, overwhelming ideas and break them down into smaller, manageable chunks. And third, you use analogies to build a bridge from what you already know to what you're trying to learn. Let's see how each one plays out. So check this out. This is our first tool in action, swapping jargon. On the left, you've got this sentence that's just choking on corporate buzzwords. It sounds important, but what does it even mean? On the right, same exact idea, but it's crystal clear. See, the goal isn't just to use smaller words. It's to tear down that wall of intimidation that jargon puts up. It forces you to actually understand the concept, not just memorize the vocabulary. And here's our second tool, breaking it down. The technical definition of machine learning on the left is, accurate, but it's also a dense wall of text. The version on the right, though, turns it into a little story, something we can actually picture in our heads. This is so critical because our brains just aren't designed to swallow huge, abstract blocks of info. We think in stories and steps. Breaking it down makes it learnable. Okay, our final tool might just be the most powerful of all, the analogy. Distributed computing architecture. That means absolutely nothing to most of us. But a digital locker? We get that instantly. An analogy is like a grappling hook for your brain. It latches onto something you already understand, and then it pulls this new, complicated idea into your world, making something abstract feel totally concrete. Now, all of these techniques kind of feel intuitive, right? But what's really going on inside our heads that makes them so effective? Let's dig into the science. Because this isn't just a neat communication trick. It's a cognitive hack that taps directly into how our brains are wired. A study from Cambridge University actually put this to the test. They gave a group of young learners 2 versions of a text, the original and a simplified one. The result? Well, you can see it right here. Comprehension was significantly better with the simplified text. It's just clear, hard evidence that cutting down on complexity directly boosts understanding. But here's the part that's really incredible. The study found that simplification had the biggest impact on the people who were struggling the most. So it's not just a small improvement. This is an amazing tool for accessibility. It levels the playing field, and it makes knowledge available to everyone, no matter where they're starting from. So what about analogies? Our third tool. Well, it turns out they're not just clever wordplay. They are one of the most powerful learning devices we have. They work by creating these incredible shortcuts in our brain, linking something brand new to something we already know inside and out. Research from the National Institutes of Health actually shows this happening. When your brain hears a metaphor, it's not just the language parts that fire up. It's a whole network of areas that light up, connecting the new idea to old memories and concepts. This creates a much stronger, more robust memory, which means you're way more likely to actually remember it later. Now, with all this power comes a bit of responsibility. There is a very fine line we have to walk here. Because while our goal is simplification, there's a real danger of falling into the oversimplification trap. This quote from a user on a history forum on Reddit just nails it. The goal is to distill the truth, not to twist it. A good simplification gets rid of the clutter but keeps the core idea intact. A bad one, an oversimplification, starts throwing away essential truths. And when you cross that line from simple into just plain incorrect, you can actually do more harm than good. You lose all the important nuance, you risk spreading misinformation, and maybe worst of all, you create this false confidence in people who think they understand something, but they've actually learned a broken version of it. True simplification makes you want to learn more. Oversimplification makes you think there's nothing left to learn. Which brings us to our final and maybe the most profound idea of all. We've been talking about Eli 5 as a way to receive information, but its real power, its true magic, is unlocked when you flip the script and use it to test your own understanding. Seriously, think about it. It's one thing to read a complicated article and nod along feeling like you get it, but it is a whole other level to be able to turn around and explain that same idea to someone else in simple, clear terms. That act of simplifying forces you to find the holes in your own knowledge. If you can't explain it simply, you probably don't understand it as well as you think you do. So that's the challenge I want to leave you with. The next time you're learning something new, don't just be a consumer, try to be a translator. Try to explain it like you're 5, because that's when the real learning actually happens. So what complex idea are you going to tackle first?